Hello, I am Arun Gitu and I've been working for the last 30 plus years with either computer systems or supply chain computer systems or as a supply chain practitioner. In my last video, I had spoken about the evolution of computer systems used in business setting and why we should aspire to implement execution systems for maximizing ROI when implementing or upgrading ERP systems or other computer systems. Please note, for this discussion, I will use the term ERP and computer systems interchangeably to mean the same thing, and similarly with vendor and supplier. Today, I will talk about automated execution of purchase orders as an example of computer system that does things automatically. Also in this video, I will focus on the questions that need to be answered and the reasons for these questions rather than the answers themselves, since the answers are specific to an organization or industry, but the questions themselves are common. To recap the last video, here is the evolution of computer systems used in business setting. I'll put a link in the description to my previous video which explains this in more detail. We went from pre-computer paper ledgers to electronic ledgers on computers to execution systems now. And of course, execution system gives us the maximum return on investment because it reduces errors, performs repetitious work consistently based on agreed upon collective best practices, and frees human resources to focus on creative work. This focus on creative work will increase job satisfaction, thus increase productivity of perhaps the most expensive resource, which is human resource. If we are more productive and more efficient than our competitors, then we can provide better value to our customers and therefore stand a better chance of winning in the marketplace. Now let us see how we can make the computer systems create POs without human intervention. Our example for today of an execution system. To make understanding of the concepts easier, I will assume that we are working for a distributor and that there is no manufacturing component. We send POs to the supplier and the supplier sends us the products in response. At first, let us understand that a PO or a purchase order is a document that tells supplier to ship the items in the quantity specified at the price mentioned to the address stated on the PO. In my next slide, I'll have an example of this. In many organizations, even today, these documents are hand typed on a computer screen. This non-creative activity takes time and leaves a lot of room for errors in just about every field that needs to be typed in. For smaller organizations or where we are creating perhaps 10 PO lines per day, hand typing the PO may be okay. But if you are creating 10,000 PO lines a day, as in the organization I was working for, even if it takes 1 minute, that is more than 160 hours of monotonous, error-prone work that needs to be done every day. And clearly, that is not using our expensive human resource to do creative, productive work. Here is an example of a simple PO that I will use for illustration today. When we talk about automating something, it helps if we think about the information that is being exchanged and then making sure that this information is available in the system for every business scenario, and also that this information is accurate and accessible. In this PO here, the fields in green should come from master data. Supplier information should come from supplier master. The important thing here is that this information should be complete and accurate. For example, how does the supplier want the PO to be sent? By fax, by email, by EDI? We should have this corresponding information. Now onto the product information. This should of course come from supplier product master. It should not only have the price, but also all the variations in price for different quantities. It is also possible that the same product can be brought from multiple suppliers with different prices. Then we should have that information too. How to choose between the suppliers? That information and logic needs to be in the system too. Remember, our aspiration here is zero human intervention. That is why we have to think of all possible combinations and make sure that we have the data and the logic for all of them. But once we have it, creating 10,000 PO lines will take the system next to no time, and they will be created without errors using agreed upon best practices specific to the organization. POs will be placed on time. There will be optimal balance between service level and inventory level, and we will not consume the 160 plus hours every day. All of this bringing greater ROI. Now let us talk about other pieces of data. We need the automated PO creation program to work on. That is, what products to buy, when to buy, what quantities, and to which warehouse should the PO be addressed to. The fields which are colored pink in this picture. In the next slide, we will look into each one of this in more detail. First, for us to know how much to buy, we need to know the forecasted or future demand and also our current inventory. Forecasted demand is a function of historical demand and forecasts from new and existing customers. For us to know when to buy, we need an inventory review policy, which in most cases could be either periodic or continuous. In periodic review policy, we look into our inventory perhaps every 2 weeks, whereas under continuous review policy, we might look at the inventory perhaps every day and then decide whether to place a PO or not. Stocking policy also comes into play when deciding when to buy. Stocking policy determines if we stock the product in anticipation of customer order or only procure the product after the customer places an order for that product. And lastly, lead time. Lead time is the time it takes for the product to get in the door from the time we place a PO. Knowing this in advance will help us place the PO so that we have the product when we need it. There are lots of details here, but the important point is all these questions need to be answered for us to create POs automatically, and these answers are all different for different organizations. And the other relevant point here is most ERP systems perhaps will take us 90% of the way there. So to conclude, for us to create POs automatically without human intervention, we need these pieces to be complete and accurate and for all possible scenarios. Most of the ERP systems will take us to the door of complete automation of this function, but will need customization and process setups for the final step of automation. For example, there will be placeholders in master data for populating all the data fields that we spoke about, but we need to have a process to keep this data updated and accurate. ERP systems will also have raw data for historical demand and placeholders for customer forecasts and such, and also a bunch of algorithms for generating forecasts. We would need to select the best algorithm for our business. We also need to specify the stocking policy and the inventory review policy, and then we need the logic to tie all of these pieces together to generate the POs automatically. Most of the big companies already do this, and some of the smaller companies too, because the ROI on automating this function is significant if we have a large number of POs. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below and I will answer as much as I can. Thank you.